The New Orleans Police Department is sending warnings out to people who are pumping gas or approaching their vehicles.
That's because of several armed robberies that happened in a short amount of time in New Orleans East. Devin Bartolotta joins us live with more. Devin, what's happening?
Well, we're in the 7,000 block of Bullard Avenue, where police say the second of 4 incidents took place, and police are releasing this information because they want people to be alert. We do have some surveillance video of the suspect in this case. New Orleans police say this crime spree started around 8 last night in the 5200 block of Crowder Blvd, where a man carjacked a woman at gunpoint. Then 20 minutes later, stole another vehicle left running at the same gas station. Then this morning around 6:30 at Brothers on Bullard Avenue, a man with the same description attempted to steal another car left running with the keys in the ignition. Less than 15 minutes later, another attempt of the same kind, and the man did get away with the woman's purse. Police believe these instances are connected, and they want the community to be alert.
We need people to be aware of their surroundings. These are 4 very quick robberies that happen in a quick succession, right, over a 12-hour period. And in each case, they're pulling out a gun, and they're certainly showing that they're willing to use that weapon to take property.
Now, police believe that their suspect is armed and is driving a dark-colored SUV and is looking for people who are leaving their cars running while they're pumping gas. Police are asking people not to make themselves an easy target. Reporting live in New Orleans East, Devin Bartolotta, Eyewitness News.
All right, Devin, thank you. Always be careful, always be vigilant, no matter where you are in the city.